When I met Barzal, I really didn't even know who he was, and it was Javier Mendez. And I sit down, and he said, "Hey, I want you to meet my fighter that is training with me now." And he said, "I think you guys should sign him." And I said, "Okay, well, what was he like?" He said, "This guy can do it." Let me tell you, he's in AK now. He's training with Habib and all the Usman, and he's in that group of killers over at AK. And he's just been getting better and better. And every performance, even the one that he lost to Magomed, he was looking pretty good until he got finished. So at the end of the day, that guy's going to be somebody that's going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I hope Juan took him seriously.
Yeah, and Juan had told me yesterday that he hoped with a win here, he could maybe line himself up as an alternate for the Grand Prix. The fact that he didn't, get to that 35, does that kind of take him out of contention for that?
You know what? That's a very good point, because something that we haven't addressed really is what's going to happen, and with the Russia conflict and all that, because as they start implementing a draft, how far they're going to reach out and what athletes are going to get tied up because they're going to have obligations to the country. So, we have to have a plan B, and if Juan wins, I think he'd be put right into that mix. But let's see what happens. I mean, this is a tough fight.
Yeah. And to go back to AJ, move up to lightweight. Whose idea was this? He had said that he was maybe looking for a trilogy with Patricio. If he moved up to 55, he wanted a title shot. How did you guys determine that this was the right fight for him and the right weight class?
Yeah, part of it was Adam Boris has been in the wings waiting for his shot, and we thought, okay, why don't we just give him a beat? And then AJ's like, well, I really don't want to fight. I really don't want to fight at 45 unless I find a Pitbull. So I think he fought something that he's comfortable in. We announced our tournament earlier this week. So next year we'll have a 155-pound tournament. And I think depending on how AJ looks and performs, at 55, he might want to come into that tournament and see how he does. But as a fan, I would love to see that trilogy fight happen at some point. And so maybe next year he'll be super busy, and we'll keep him fighting, and he could do both. He could fight in the tournament, and he could fight Pitbull and finish that trilogy.
And the lightweight tournament, when are you guys hoping to start that? Like the title fight between Patrick and Nurmagomedov isn't going to be part of that, right?
That is not part of the tournament. And when you look at the division, that's just such a stacked division for us now. You got Masayev, Usman, Patricky, you got Benson Henderson, who looked great in Ireland last week. So I feel like that's the right weight class, and met with our team. They felt the same way. We have our light heavyweight tournament finals November 18th with Nemkov fighting Corey in Chicago. And then we have our bantamweight semifinals December 9th. And then as we go into next year, probably I would say, let's say February is when we'll probably launch the lightweight tournament. And then have the finals of the bantamweight tournament and sometime in March.
And I know yourself and Eddie Alvarez were both on Ariel Kalani's show earlier this week, and there seemed to be some mutual interest in maybe talking about that and bringing him back. Is that something you are keen to do, and maybe include him in that lightweight tournament? He said he feels that would be a perfect fit for him.
Yeah, you know what? I love Eddie's style of fighting. In fact, the building that we're going to tomorrow was his fight with Chandler back in the day.
Yeah.
So, it's been a long ride. He's had a great career. I love our roster the way it sits right now. Would we be interested in Eddie? We're definitely interested in having a conversation with his manager, Lloyd, or agent Lloyd. So we'll talk to him. I think we're scheduled to talk next week sometime. There's nothing that's concrete or anything, but all preliminary talks. And if it makes sense for everybody, then maybe we would consider it.
Hey Scott, with Sergio back to training already and the Bellator Bantamweight World Grand Prix going on until maybe a couple months into next year, is there any chance that with a win this weekend, Archuleta or Barzola get a title shot with Pettis before the end of the tournament?
With Pettis, we're gonna, we'll probably wait until the tournament is over. I mean, I'll probably reach out to Duke and check in with him, but. I think he's going to have an opportunity to fight the winner of the tournament, right off the bat, and defend his title. It could be a dual title if Rafian wins the whole thing, then it could be a dual title. So, I think that let him heal up and get ready and get ready for next year. But if he's itching to go, we might have another conversation internally about that. But right now, our plan is to have him fight next year.
And you mentioned Benson Henderson in the lightweight tournament. Benson seemed to think that after that victory over Peter Queally, he'd be getting the next title shot between the winner of Nurmagomedov and Patricky. Would he have to go into that tournament and get through the gauntlet to get that title shot, or is there a chance he gets a title shot prior to the tournament?
Well, my thought right now is that the lightweight fight will happen on November 18th, and the tournament will probably start in late January, early February. So I don't think we'll have another opportunity to fight for a championship belt. But we will invite Benson, and that might be his path to the belt.
And is there any update on the retirement fight for Fedor?
Yeah, you know what? We were talking about this earlier, and we had a fight set in July of this year in Red Square to have Fedor fight his final fight. And we talk about the greatest fighter of all time, the greatest heavyweight of all time. And when we planned this event, that was supposed to be the event where he retires. He finally comes home because Fedor went all over the world and conquered everybody. Right? Comes home, has the grand parade, lots of pageantry, lots of just great production, great show, and he retires in front of his hometown. But obviously, with the invasion of Ukraine, that didn't work out. So that fight went out, and we're still debating when we're going to fight him. I think he wants to fight right away. He wants to fight Ryan Bader. That's what it comes down to. He wants a revenge fight, and he wants to have the title shot. So we haven't really gotten too much into that, but that's what his requests have been in the last 3 or 4 texts that I received. So let's see how that goes. We got a lot of great fights ahead of us. I mean, we've been so busy with Ireland and here, and then we got Chicago coming up, and I feel like Bellator is on a real roll right now, and we got some amazing matchups, and we're going to finish the year in a real positive note. So that's what I've been focusing on. But I will reach out to Fedor maybe sometime next week, and let's see if we can come to some common ground. The Anderson Silva thing was just a conversation I had with Ed Suarez about 4 months ago. Say, hey, wouldn't that be amazing? The GOAT fighting the GOAT, and they could do it in LA or New York, or we could do it someplace in Europe. He reached out to Anderson. Anderson said, I really want to focus on my boxing, and that was it. So that was really the extent of that conversation. But I think Fedor really has his bullseye on Bader.
Real quick, as Bader mentioned, for Lynn Vassell is next up, or maybe Fedor?
Bader, I think, has said he would like to fight Lynn Vassell. So we got some things to work on.
Do you think you'll have to twist Ryan's arm a little bit, or maybe sweeten the pot for him to get that? Because I know he has said in an interview.
Don't give me any ideas. Don't give me any ideas.
He said there's no upside to that fight for him, right? It's all kind of Fedor.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that, but I can see why he feels that way. But listen, sometimes things work out the way they're supposed to work out when the right timing is there.
What's more important for Fedor, maybe you, the location for Fedor's retirement fight or the opponent?
I mean, to me, look, this is something where this is a celebration of Fedor's career, right? So this fight could happen, honestly, anywhere in the world, I feel, because it's a culmination of all the 5 years, whatever, of fighting he's had, and this is the moment where he's going to put his gloves down. I mean, think about that. That's going to be a powerful night, no matter where we go. And last week we saw Melvin put his gloves down, and it was very touching. And the family was crying, the son was crying, and Yoel Romero handled it very, very well in the ring. And Fedor, I think, is going to be a big moment, and we want to make it a big moment for him because he deserves it. He deserves to have that sending off, party. We're going to probably figure this out because I really would like to see him fight in January, February.
Speaking of Yoel Romero, I know he said he wants to go to middleweight and get the shot. I spoke with Johnny Eblin, and he said he's open to that fight, but he wants assurances that he can make weight or that there would be a backup in place if he didn't make weight. Is that a concern maybe you share if Yoel can actually make that 185 limit for a title fight?
Yeah, I mean he hasn't fought for us at 85, and I think he could do it. But we have to talk to his management because he hasn't done it yet, and that'd be definitely something we'd be concerned about. He is a professional. I think that he knows how to cut weight, and but that's something we'll discuss with them this week too.
Yeah. Do you have any idea when you want to see Johnny back fighting, defending that title?
Yeah, I think Johnny's schedule. I think we're going to try to get Johnny back in January, February.
And I also want to ask, you mentioned the 35 Grand Prix. I spoke with Patricio yesterday, and he said he wants to fight the winner of the Grand Prix and move down and go for that third title. Is that something that interests you? And is he a guy, it's his 15th title fight tomorrow with Bellator, which is a record. Does he put in the work that maybe he could go down there and cut the line right away?
I'll tell you, that's something I would have to talk to him, because I haven't had that conversation with him yet. But, when you think about his body of work here at Bellator, even way before I got here, right? He's been really a great ambassador for the company. And I think that he gets a hall pass more than maybe somebody else would, right? But to cut the line and fight. Listen, I think it'd be fun. Whether any of those four guys that are left are killers, and so if he wanted to come down and fight him, I think it'd be fun. Let's get it on. I also would like to see him fight AJ Mckee again. So Pitbull's going to have some big fights ahead.
And I want to ask about Adam Borks. He told me that this is a massive fight in Hungary, where he's from. He's all over the newspapers and the TV channels and stuff. Do you have any sense of how big this event is over there, and what it would mean for maybe Bellator's foothold in a country like that if he does win? Yeah, if you think about it, he's a fighter that we discovered when he was fighting in Hungary for us. We did a fight in Budapest, and he was fighting. I think he was fighting on the kickboxing side of it. And moved to Florida and started training and took it very seriously. And look how far he's come in his career. So his popularity in his home country is still, he's very popular. He's still like I would say a national hero there. And I think that people are going to tune in and watch it. It's going to be late at night, but they're going to tune in and watch it over there. If we go back to Europe and he's fighting on the card, I'm sure they'll come and support him. And it is a big fight for him, But I say this: don't underestimate this kid, man. This kid is dangerous, and he has showed me a lot in the last year. So that's why he's in this position. But he's got to step up. Pitbull is he's deadly, so he's going to have his hands full. But that's why this fight is so intriguing, and so it's going to be so much fun to watch, because you don't know what's going to happen. And last thing for me, where does Aaron Pico fit in with the win? There's a lot of options seemingly for Patricio at 45. He said that he was kind of told that if he gets a win here, he's probably next in line.
Yeah, listen, Aaron is somebody that, we signed. I tried to sign that kid at 17, and I couldn't do it. And we signed him when he's 18 years old. So we've been working together, for 6-7 years now, and waiting for him to get to this point and get ready for this opportunity. And if he looks good and he wins and he advances forward, I think that he should be in line for a title, or he should be in the top 2 at that point, top 3. So let's see what happens, and I think a lot's going to depend on his performance. And you guys know we have a ranking system where the reporters all chip in and chime in and tell us how they feel, and that determines sometimes how we feel about matching certain fighters. And if he looks great, I think he'll move up in the rankings, and I think that he'll be right in line.
Scott, bouncing off of that, Aaron Pico's number 4, Jeremy Kennedy is number 6, but Aaron Pico is a 7-1 favorite. Is this kid finally in his prime? Do you think those odds make sense to you?
I don't know about the odds. That's a whole different business, and I'm not involved in that. But Pico's been dominant lately, and he had a rough patch in the very beginning, as we all know. Ironed it out, but I think over the last 4 or 5 fights, he's getting back to where we thought he could be. I'm very excited about what's ahead for him. Think about this: we've been working so long together, but yet he's only 25 years old. He's still a young kid. He's got a lot of fight left in him, And from the day that I saw him or met him, and the background that we researched, and the just the pedigree of wrestling, and then the boxing he had, I said, hey, this guy could really be a star in the sport, and he's on his way.
In the co-main event, AJ Mckee just made 155 pounds for the first time. If he looks good at 155, would you match him up with some of these big fights up there? You've got Usman, Nurmagomedov. You've got a good list up at the top at 155. Would you be comfortable with seeing AJ in those types of matchups? Yeah,
I think that let's see how he performs tomorrow night, but why not? Listen, the kid wants to fight. I was talking to him outside. How do you feel? He said, I feel great. He goes, I'll probably walk in at 170, and so he can carry the weight. He's a young guy, He's got many years ahead of him to grow into the weight. So, I think it's inevitable that he would go up eventually anyway. And now that we have our 155-pound tournament, and he could, if he decides to stay at 55, I'm sure he's going to want to compete in that tournament. And then, there's the gauntlet of all those killers at 55. But I will say, I still would love to see him fight Pitbull at 45. They got to finish that trilogy at some point.
Is it possible to finish that trilogy at 155?
That's interesting. You know what? Let's see what happens tomorrow night. And, like I said, we'll go back, we'll reshuffle the deck, and then we'll decide. But I would love to see that fight at 45 or 55. It doesn't matter to me.
Why do you love that matchup?
When you talk about like the fighter that we signed like right out of his last amateur fight, and kind of brought him along the way, and really kind of helped develop his career, so to speak. And then you got Pitbull on the other side that's been really the OG of Bellator and has fought everybody. How many title fights has he been in now? I think it's something, crazy number. I mean, he's been a rock for this company. And so when you got the new kid on the block, and then you got the OG, and they clash horns, I mean, those first two fights were pretty nuts. So we look forward to the third. And I think the fans want to see the third one. They want to see the third one. So either at 45 or 55, we'll definitely put that fight together at some point.
My last one for you, Scott. You were on stage up there with the main event. You saw Patricio Pitbull and Adam Boric stare down. Adam's usually calm, collected. He was jumping up and down on that stage. He was yelling and new. Have you seen that from Adam Boric before? And what did you feel on that stage that he's going to be, the type of energy that he's bringing in this week?
I've never seen him this pumped up, and he's excited, and he is a killer. This guy can fight, man. I'm telling you. And the size difference, Pitbull's dealt with that before, but this is going to be an interesting fight. It's going to be an interesting tactical fight, and I think that I don't want to make a prediction, but it's going to be like a tactical strategy of who can get inside, I think, and take this fight to the opponent. But both of these guys are amazing, and I wish them both luck, and we'll see what happens tomorrow night.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Scott.